so much for coming. We're so glad to see you for the Love Marshall event. We are, unfortunately, some of our board members and some people are out sick with colds and flus, so it's a little light this time, but that gives you a great chance to win our door prize.
Odds are good.
Yeah, there's an advantage and disadvantage to anything. So thank you for coming. I'm Mary Wilkerson, president of the MBRA, and we're very glad to have you. And we also have Duke Bland, who's going to give us an update on the schools. And then we'll have our special speaker, Father Ostman from St. John the Baptist Anglican Church, right here on the corner of Main Street and Winchester Road. So we're very excited to hear him. Please feel free to get up at any time. This is just informal. Anytime you want something to drink, you want a little something to munch on, feel free to just go ahead and make yourself at home with that. So, and I hope everyone's gotten our latest newsletter, the Marshall Minute. If not, it's on the back and on the back table, and it's also on our website, marshallva.org. Also, our past newsletters. If you go to our newsletters tab and go to click on that, you'll see past newsletters from the past couple of years as well. And we also have videos. We have a tab meeting videos, so you can actually watch the past videos that we had. So one that was of interest recently, I guess it was the end of last year, was Roy Barnett with Van Meter. So a lot of people are interested about what's going on with Van Meter. So you can watch that video and also read in the minutes, but the video is everything that he said right there for you to see. So, and keep an eye out for, we will be having our showcase mixers coming up, where we showcase a business, one of our businesses in town, and one of our business members. And we also always are looking for, if you have a business and you want to participate in the showcase mixer, we will advertise it for you. You have little, whatever you want to have, like refreshments, whatever it is you choose to do, and then we advertise it for you and promote it, and then the residents can come and find out more about your business. So we're really looking forward to also our parties on Main Street when we get in the summer months. That's always a lot of fun. And we had one with Bear's Ice Cream. We're really looking forward to another one with them when the weather warms up. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna listen to Duke first, and then we'll hear our special speaker, Father Ostman. And then afterwards, we'll have door prizes, and we'll have announcements, and we'll give you an update on the Marshall Main Street Improvement Project. So, does that sound good with everybody?
Good.
Okay. All righty, without further ado, Duke, we're so glad you could be back. We know you've been out for a while, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Well, thanks, and I'm glad to be back. As you can imagine, I am now the chairman of the school board, so I now sit on more committees and more subcommittees and go to more meetings than I've ever done since I've been on the school board. And now that it's budget season, of course, that even doubles. So that's where I am right now, with meetings just about every other day or every other night. So I am really glad to be here tonight. One of the first things I want to talk about is the middle schools. That's been in the paper for a long time. There's been a lot of publicity about the different decisions that's being made, the cost and things of that nature. But this middle school subject has been around since I first came on the board in 2005. That's how long they've been kicking this can down the road. So finally, I think within the next 90 days, we will have this thing nailed down. There's been a lot of meetings going on here in the last couple of months. As a matter of fact, Mary Lee and I had breakfast just the other morning, today's Tuesday, yesterday morning, to discuss an upcoming meeting that we have with the Board of Supervisors on Thursday. Last night, the school board had another meeting. And, initially, there were like 6 options that we were all entertaining. and then it was narrowed down to 4. Well, finally, here in the last month, we've narrowed those options down to 2. And why am I telling you this? Because part of our decision involves or impacts the folks here in Marshall, and I'll tell you why here in a few minutes, okay? But right now, it looks like Taylor is going to be the school of choice for the middle school renovation. The first school, and we've already awarded an A&E contract for Cedar Lee. Cedar Lee is going to be the first school that gets renovated and an addition built onto it. And the reason why, I don't know when's the last time you all have been down in the Beetleton area, but that place is going bananas down there. I mean, there are houses and businesses coming up everywhere. So we're going to have to create some space down in Cedar Lee. And they're not done. They have a number of other projects, home projects that are coming up. So we're going to put on a 300 student wing onto the Cedar Lee Middle School. That's numero uno. That has to be done, okay? Now, initially, we were talking about doing one of the middle schools in Warrenton as the second phase. But once we started looking at all of the activity that's going on down in the Scott District, down in New Baltimore, the projects that are on the board now and the projects that are coming, we decided, hey, look, we need to pump the brakes a little bit. There's something else that's getting our attention as well. And I met with Holder to talk about a number of these housing developments that are coming up down in New Baltimore. And now our thought process is maybe we should entertain building onto Auburn Middle School at the same time that we're building on to Cedar Lee Middle School. Now there's a method to my madness here, folks. First of all, when Auburn was built, it was built with the idea that perhaps sometime in the very near future that we would have to add about a 300 student wing. So those plans pretty much are already in place. We know where the building needs to go. We know how it's going to tie in and all of that. You don't
How big is it now?
How big is
How many students are there?
It's about 600. It's about 600 right now. About 6, close to 6. I've got the exact numbers here in the book if you want to know the exact numbers. But we're going to add that addition onto Auburn as we build on to Cedar Lee. So it'll be a 300 addition on to Auburn, 300 addition on to Cedar Lee, okay? Now, why are we doing it that way? Right now, in Warrenton, and let's look at Taylor first, there are about nearly 200 kids that come in from the Beetleton area into the Taylor School. Did you all know that? All the way, almost all the way down to the Opal Light. We have buses that run down there to bring kids into Taylor. When you look at Warrenton Middle School, when you look at all of the subdivisions, the new subdivisions down on 605, Raymond Farm, who else is all that in that whole 605 corridor? Those kids come into Warrenton Middle School. Now, if you're looking at a true, what we call feeder school system, those students down in the Beetleton area, down in the Opal area, should be going where? They should be going to Cedar Lee, and when they graduate Cedar Lee, they should be going to Liberty, right? The same thing with the people down in the New Baltimore area, down off of 605. Right now, some of those kids go to Warrenton Middle, some of those kids go to Auburn. That's not a true feeder school concept. So we can carve out X number of students out of that corridor from Warrenton Middle and send them to Auburn when it's complete. Okay? Now you've taken about 500 kids out of the Warrenton 2 schools. So instead of, when we do Taylor, for instance, instead of bringing in trailers to house additional kids while you work on a school, now you freed up enough space in one school where you can move all the kids over to the school that you're not gonna renovate and go ahead and renovate this school with no students in it. It's far quicker and it's far cheaper. Okay? That's one of the method behind our madness. That's why I look at it as 4 phases. Phase 1, let's do Sheila Lee and Auburn School. Get those kids in. Next thing you want to do is do a redistricting. Get those kids from the Warrenton Middle School and Taylor, put them in the schools where they need to be. Second, let's start the process of building or renovating Taylor. Then third, go back and look at where we need to move the numbers and to satisfy all the growth needs that we need. Now, I said earlier that this impacts Marshall as well. Do you know that we have about 50 kids that come out of the Warrenton area and come into the Marshall Middle School? We got kids that come out of Warrenton Lakes. We have kids that come out of Bethel Academy. And we got kids that come out of Snow Hill. All of those kids come into Marshall. Now, we've got some capacity here in Marshall right now. But what's going to happen with these 200 some houses that are going to be built over the next 5 or 7 years here in Marshall? If I don't create some space here in Marshall, then there's going to be overcrowding here in Marshall. And that's not going to happen. So what we can do conceivably is look at how we're going to redistrict getting those kids back out of Marshall, the ones in Bethel Academy, the ones in Warrenton Lakes, the ones in Snow Hill, and put them back in Warrenton where they should be. Thus freeing up my space that I need here in Marshall for the projects that we have coming on board here over the next few years. Any questions any questions or comments about what I've just said? Yes, sir.
This is a general thing. I was a teacher in Montgomery County,
Okay.
and I can tell, I would, you can answer this as you like, but I'll just lay it out.
Okay.
It's better to build new schools than to stick kids in trailers and build massive big ones. I was at a very good high school, which was only 800 students for 4 grades. They closed that school in their imminent wisdom, and then that other school had 2,200 students, high school, okay? And I had to teach in the trailer in the parking lot, and that's no place to get an education.
Yeah.
So also, I think in this county, we spend a lot of money and time, that the time is really more important than the money, busing kids all over the place. And so building new schools would mean, less travel time for the students and a better quality education where they're closer to home.
Yes, sir.
So that's
And to get the community school concept.
Yes.
The community school concept, and you have a feeder system. You know if the kid goes to this elementary school, you know what middle school he or she will be going to. If they go to this middle school, then when they graduate that middle school, you know what high school that child is going to.
So I say don't build onto any school, just build new ones.
Well,
Spread them out.
I really wish we could do that, but because of the property value here in Fauquier County, that's just not feasible.
I'm not convinced by that argument.
Okay, well, believe me, we've done the studies on that. We've done the studies on it. Now, we are not going to get to a point where we have 2,000 and 2,500.
If your goal is to provide the best quality education,
Yep.
and you don't want kids sitting in a snowstorm or just in a bus for hours on end, what are they doing on that bus?
Yeah.
Not reading.
Well, it's just like we have kids that come in, we have to transport in here from Delaplane and Paris Mountain and Upperville. It's just not, when you don't have that density, it's just not feasible to say, well, these kids are being bused in here from Paris Mountain and Upperville and all these places.
Why not a nice school in Delaplane?
There aren't enough students.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
what
not enough
you
students.
define as enough?
14,
Is that all in that whole valley?
probably. It's a very old
It's,
demographic.
it's the density that you have to take a look at. It's the density. You have to place the schools where is the biggest density, and also you have to, we have to build schools now where you can connect to county water and sewer. So you just can't build a school.
So you're very limited by where you can build.
Yes, sir.
Well, you're certainly free to
Yes,
build
sir.
anywhere along the 29 corridor, aren't you?
You mean that between Remington and,
Well, you said you
New
need one in New
Baltimore?
Baltimore.
yeah, in New Baltimore. But the land is so valuable on 29 in New Baltimore, and if you're talking about, 30 acres for a middle school because of the football fields and all that kind of stuff, you try finding and financing 30 acres in that Route 29 corridor.
Oh, I'm sure someone has that 30 acres to give you.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do.
Duke, I just have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you were saying closing Taylor, where are all the Taylor kids gonna go to Warrenton while it's being
Right.
renovated?
Mhm.
And Warrenton can
It
accommodate
will accommodate.
what are their numbers,
Um,
Warrenton and Taylor?
Warrenton, Taylor is 547, has a capacity of 547, and Warrenton Middle is 513. Okay, that's program capacity. But once we do all the shifting and everything around, there will be enough space there at the Warrenton Middle School to house both the kids that went to Warrenton Middle School and Taylor, and put them in Warrenton Middle while Taylor's being renovated.
So that's probably the rub, why it took so long, because if that's the case, then do we really need two?
Right.
That's the rub.
That's the rub right there. That's the rub right there. And you know, when we started looking at the two schools, let's go back and just a few years ago, the engineering firm that we had to look at the two schools and to study the concept of the two schools, the engineering firm said that Taylor is your best bet. And they talked about the way Taylor is spread out and how easily it could be expanded, other than Warrenton Middle School. The other factor was, if any of you all have been to Warrenton Middle School at any time doing pickup and drop off, that traffic out on Waterloo Street is a nightmare. You should not have that kind of traffic backed up and stopped up on a residential street.
But she needs hazard pay.
Huh?
The little traffic cop needs
Yeah,
hazard pay.
yeah, you're absolutely right. My granddaughter went there, and I absolutely hated to have to go in and pick her up or drop her off there. To me, it was an incident waiting to happen. Now, they said, well, one of the things that we can entertain is to put a road out back, down through where the school bus garage is now, where all the school buses are, and where the county garage is, and where the county parks their cars, and where we have a number of trailers out there for administrative buildings. They said, just relocate all of these people, and let's put a road right down through all of that. I said, okay. Well, just the road by itself is like there's about, they estimate between $3.5 and $500,000. That's just for the road. That's just for the road. But then, when you realize that part of that area too is in a floodplain, now you're talking storm water management. And when you start those studies, and you start those permitting, and you start moving stuff around in a stormwater management application, you're talking big bucks. You're talking big bucks. So that was another reason why we backed off of the Warrenton Middle School. The third reason, when we put together that task force, it was like 46 people from various walks of life. We had everybody that we could think of from neighborhoods and towns and, people who were churchgoers and people who were lawyers, people who would just get up every morning and put their shoes on backwards and walk out the door and all of that stuff. We had a number of people on this committee. And their answer also was, Taylor makes the best sense. And when Dave Graham and I, and most of you all know Dave Graham, he and I walked that property again over at Taylor. and Warrenton Middle School. And we said, look, man, we can put, even if we had to expand Taylor, it's far, far better and far cheaper to do that school instead of Warrenton Middle School. Now, you might ask, what are you gonna do with Warrenton Middle School? It will be repurposed. It will be repurposed. We have, we've been in talks with the county. The county owns the Central Complex. You know where the Central Complex is, the old Central School? The county has people in that school and in that facility, and so does Fauquier County Public Schools. There's some interest from some outside corporations that want to buy that piece of land. Okay, well, that can happen. But what do you do with all those people that are there? So the thought is, okay, well, maybe if we repurpose Warrenton Middle School, we can house all the people that's now in the Central Complex into the Warrenton Middle School. And you can then sell that part of the old property, Central and behind it, and part of what's beside it, and recoup some of that money to put back into the money that you're spending on these renovations. That can happen. Also, our alternative school that's down in Midland, Southeastern, that is one of the oldest schools in the county. It costs us more money to operate just about than any school in the county.
And it's falling apart.
And it's falling apart. It has the old single pane windows in it. So you can imagine what our utility bills are for that school. It does not have a kitchen. Lunch is bought in from another school on a daily basis to feed those kids. Yes, yes. So we're thinking, okay, that piece of property down on 28, which is where the school is, you know, they're looking to extend water and sewer up that 28 corridor. So we may be sitting on a nice gold mine right there by selling that old facility as well, and putting more money of that back into the renovation of the Warrenton Middle School. So there are all kinds of things, all kinds of very creative things that we are entertaining to make all of this work. You got a question? I can see those eyebrows.
Well, I don't wanna say anything nasty, but you just finished telling me you couldn't afford to buy anything, and now you're telling us you're gonna be selling off your assets.
No, this is a very small school that was built back in the
So
1930s.
why not fix it up? You got the good property there.
It will cost you a long arm and a leg to fix that. And again, this is only an alternative school. You only have like 60 kids going to that school.
Oh, okay.
And you're busing them from Delaplane
Yeah,
all the way down.
Yeah.
It makes much more sense to have them centrally located in
Central
Warrenton.
located. Yeah, these kids come from everywhere. They're bussed in from everywhere to that one location.
One question with all of this is all really great, but how emotionally does this affect the students? Or is the timing gonna be so that you're not upsetting the top of a middle school or the top of a high school, well, middle schools is what we're talking about, the top of the middle school with all their friends and dividing them up that last year?
And we will, when we start looking at the redistricting concept, we will, take all of that into consideration. What we've done in the past is if a child is entering into that last year of that school, then if they wish to continue to go to that school or whatever, if they provide their own transportation, that can happen. But typically, that doesn't happen in the middle school. High schools, yes.
More so, yeah.
High schools, yes. And we've made all kinds of exceptions when we built Kettle Run for kids who were going to Liberty and kids who were going to Fauquier, who were now going to be going to Kettle Run. And they were coming into their senior year. So, yes, we did. We made exceptions there. But typically, when you're talking elementary school or you're talking the middle schools, that's not so much of an issue. But there's no doubt in my mind that we will have some, and we will try to work with the parents and or the students, to soften the blow, if you will. Okay? But folks, this is, it's still very fluid right now. I meet with the county at 3:00 on Thursday to discuss the CIP, the capital improvement program. So we'll be talking in a little bit greater detail about what we want to do, how we want to do it, and how we're going to spread the funding. You know, initially, people were talking about, man, we got to get a bond for $50 million, and we got to get it done now, and all of that. It's not going to happen all at the same time. You don't go out and borrow money that you're not going to use for 2 or 3 years, right? You just don't do that. So, you know, timing is still of essence and of importance, because the longer you wait, you're talking about at least a 5 or 6% escalation cost that's added to a contract. Okay, so we're gonna try to nail this thing down as quickly as we can. But we'll make sure that we're gonna do it and do it right.
And not raise our taxes.
I don't have anything to do with that
Everybody's
now.
laughing.
I'm a taxpayer too.
Everybody's laughing, I know.
I'm a taxpayer too.
I know.
I almost fell out of the chair when I opened up my tax bill, was it 2 years ago when they raised taxes? So, do I have a couple more minutes?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Because I do want to give you a heads up on some of the priorities that we're working on as well, as well. Now I want to talk about some of the other priorities that we're working on. Safety and security is and always will be priority one for us. And as you know, particularly if you're a parent of a student who attends one of our schools, when you go into one of our schools now, you will see more cameras all over the place. We have SSO officers and SRO officers in all of our schools now. So we feel a whole lot safer with the Sheriff's Department represented in the schools now. We are updating our bus cameras. We are adding extension arms onto our buses. Now get this, folks. And people are saying, why are you adding extension arms onto your buses? We have had instances of very close calls. I mean, I am amazed that we have not had an incident with some of these drivers going around buses and kids walking up. I'm just amazed. When you hear of these incidents that are happening in Fairfax County and Prince William County, and what was it, last year, 2 kids were killed. One was in Northern Virginia, one was in Maryland. So, and we have cameras on these extension arms. Do you know that we have already issued this school year 168 citations?
That's how you pay for the schools. Except you charge them $1,000 so they get the message.
168 citations.
Unbelievable.
And that was just to the end of January. That's how crazy these drivers are. You tell me what's so important that you've got to drive around a school bus or drive through a red light, the red light's flashing, when a kid is standing there ready to cross the road.
Because it's taken the 6-year-old too long.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. One of the other things that we are embarking upon is we're getting ready to install our first secure vestibule in a school, in some of the older schools. You know, like if you walk into Fauquier High School right now, you walk in through the first set of doors, you're buzzed in the first set of doors, and you can't go any further until you go to that office. You have access, you don't have any access to any part of that building until you go through that office. When you go out here at Coleman, and I'm just using Coleman or Thompson, use any one of those, Marshall Middle School. When you bust through the front door right now, you can go anywhere before you go in that office. Right? So what what we're doing is creating vestibules so that you walk in, once you get buzzed in, you won't have the ability to go anyplace else until you go through that office. Everything else is locked down.
Is this for visitors during the day, or is this for kids as well?
Visitors during the day.
Okay.
Visitors during the day. So we're just about ready. We've already got plans on our first one, and we hope that one will be started. Construction will start on it within the next couple of weeks. And then we have prototypes where we have sister schools. We have some schools in Fauquier County that the footprint is identical to another footprint. Like Bradley is the same footprint as Coleman. Right, you see what I'm saying? So we're going to be working on those sister schools first. And we're going to get them all done, folks. We're going to get them all done. It's not cheap, but for safety and security reasons, we've got to do it. Let's see. We have over 500 trained staff, administrators, and teachers trained in the Youth Mental Health First Aid Initiative. And if you see teachers or staff members with those purple lanyards, they have been in some extensive training to help identify and coach and work with kids that are having some issues. Now, do they do all the psychological work or the psychiatric work and all that kind of stuff? No, that's not what their job is. Their job is to be able to identify when a child is having an issue. There may be something that's happening at school, there may be something that's happening at home, and these people are trained to identify these kids and to make sure that they get the proper help that they need. Okay, it's been very beneficial. I can't get into a lot of detail because of all the things about privacy acts and all that kind of stuff. But there's no doubt in my mind that we have saved several students. Let's see. I want to talk a little bit about our ability to enhance our 21st century students' ability to have access now to new technology and resources and tools to compete and succeed. We've always felt that, hey, look, we've got to be able to identify kids that need a little extra help and make sure they get that help so that they can compete and succeed. For instance, one of the things that I talked about 3 or 4 years ago was the need for a facility here in Marshall, like in the afternoons in the summer, for kids who didn't have access to the internet, for kids who needed some extra tutoring and things of that nature. And Dave Graham and I were the ones that talked about that, and behold, we have a facility here in Marshall that's helping these students. And we're starting to do that in other places throughout the county as well. Sometimes an individual needs a little extra help. It reminds me of, we start talking about the equity thing. Here is a ball game going on over this fence. And here are 3 kids there. And there's a tall kid, he's about 5'8". He doesn't need anything, he can see this ball game. Now here's a kid right here that's 4'6". He can't see over that fence. So what do? You may go out and get him a little 8-inch stool so that he can see over that fence. There's another child over here that's only 4 foot tall. He really needs some help if he's going to see over that fence. So instead of a 6 or 8-inch stool, this kid over here may need a 10 or 12-inch stool. And in the end, you've helped them individually, but now they all can see over that fence. That is what equity is to me, is to find out what each child needs and try to provide that resource, technology, or that tool to help that child succeed. We are very proud of our accomplishments here in Fauquier County. Our graduation rate is 94.1%, down just a tad from the year before, but still way above the state average of 91%. And folks, those things just don't happen. You have to work at it to make it happen. I remember just a few years ago, it was down to like 89%. And we worked very hard to get it up to where it is right now. We also recognize that not all kids are going to go to a 4-year college. We also recognize that not all kids are going to go to a 2-year college. Some of them choose to do other things. And I say choose because a lot of people think that because you decide to go into the military or because you decide to go into a technical career, you just did that because you weren't good enough to get into a college. That's not true, folks. And we need to make sure that we do everything we can to remove that stigma. That is simply not true. A lot of these kids do it out of choice. A lot of kids decide to go into the armed forces because they want to. That's their choice. And we have an excellent ROTC program, one of the best around, to help them with that choice and to help them with that process. We have a nationally ranked career technical program at Fauquier High School, nationally ranked. Our automotive mechanics have won national championships. I'm not talking about a district championship or regional championship. I'm talking about a national championship. We've got great auto mechanic classes. We've got great nursing classes, EMT classes, electrical classes, cosmetology classes. Whatever a student decides they want to do with their lives, we try to find a way to make it happen. Last year, and a number of you may remember this, with our partnership with Lord Fairfax Community College, we started that Heavy Equipment Operators Program. And we graduated the first class back in the summer of last year, June, July, August. And I forget how many students there were, 17, 20, somewhere in that neighborhood, 21. But we had contractors, S.W. Rogers, Brown, we had a whole bunch of them there to sign those students right then and there. Every single one of them came out of that course and had a job. Every single one. Folks, that's what it's all about. That is what it's all about. When I was down in Williamsburg back in the fall, the Virginia School Board Association conference, I was talking to one of my counterparts out of Fairfax, and we were talking about teacher shortages. And he said, you know what? He said, we've started a program that you may be interested in. Grow your own teachers. I said, okay, I'm listening. You got my attention because you know what we go through in trying to hire teachers. He says, if we have a student who takes this certification class as a junior or a senior, and they successfully pass it, and they go on to college to get a teacher certification and complete that and get all the credentials that they need, they come back to Fairfax County Public Schools and we guarantee them a job. We guarantee them a job. So I'm thinking, okay, well, let me think about this. Every year, we have to shake the trees, raise the rocks and everything to find good teachers. Every year we lose a number of teachers. Now, yes, we do lose them to retirement, Some of them are resigning for other reasons, but so many of them are leaving here to go to like Loudoun County and Quincy County. New schools that have been built right close to the Fauquier County line, and they can go across that line and make an extra $15,000 like that. Now, we've done a great job. I'm not gonna say great, back up. We've done a very good job in closing that gap with teacher compression and the market study rate. We've done a very good job over the last couple of years, okay, to get competitive. But guess what? Every time you get closer, that target moves. So that's where we are right now. Now, having said that, I have talked with my superintendent and talked with the other school board members, and we too are starting the Grow Your Teacher campaign here in Fauquier County. So if one of my students takes that course as a junior or senior, pass that course, goes on to college and get a teacher certificate, if they want a job here in Fauquier County, we guarantee them a job. Guarantee them a job. And my granddaughter, who is a junior this year, a senior next year, she is thinking about being a teacher. And I said, Cameron, you know, here is something that you may want to think about. So she was all excited, very excited, as are a number of other students, to see that they're guaranteed a job once they get out of college. So folks, these are some of the great things that we're doing. We're working on the budget and everything right now, working with the county, looking at state revenues. Bob and I were just talking about things, the bills being crossed, coming out of the crossover committees and everything today. Right now, we're look like we're going to lose at least $300,000 out of state funding monies. We're hoping to reverse that. We're not sure, but we're probably going to need about a 4.1% increase from the county to bring all of this stuff together. Only 4.1 this time. So I will be back. As a matter of fact, I may bring Dr. Jeck back in March if you want me to, and let him go through that budget in detail like we've done with him before, if you want to. But
Yeah, we'll check.
Okay.
With you on that.
But folks, again, if you ever have any questions or concerns about the school system or the things that we're doing or not doing, I'm only a phone call away or only an email away. I've met people up here at Red Truck Bakery and sat down and talked. I met people down at Marshall Diner and sat down and talked and had coffee. So I'm available that way too, okay? Your ideas mean a lot to me, okay? So keep it up. I represent you, not myself.
Thank you for that update, Duke. Mary
More to
Lee-
come.
Okay. Mary Lee said she can't come tonight because there's someone dear to her in her firm that passed away, and so she's, I guess, taking over working in his place is what it means, in her Leesburg office. So, but without further ado, Father Ostman, please come up. We would love to hear from you.
Thank you. Hard to follow that act, but I'll try.
I'm sorry to take up so much time,
No.
but I was on a roll.
Yeah. Those of you who don't know, St. John's has been in Marshall since about the mid-90s, originally meeting at the chapel at Marshall Manor, going back to that. And towards the end of the 90s, I don't know exactly because I wasn't here, but towards the end of the 90s, we ended up leasing the church right at the corner. It's amazing people don't realize that, yes, there is a church there. We've been in it since about 1997 or thereabouts. So I have something I want to announce, big news. I've been here 12 years, after probably 15 years or so of negotiating, we finally closed on the property and have purchased it, well, the bank owns it.
Joint partnership.
Exactly. So as of last Thursday, we are now in possession of the property. And part of it is that now that it is something that we can recognize as ours and have the responsibility to maintain it, we also recognize that with that comes a responsibility to the community. And we want to be able to expand our program, our outreach, and work with people in the community as well. So we see a bright future ahead. We're still in a little bit of shock because when you've been working on something for so long, when it actually materializes, you want to pinch yourself to make sure that you're actually awake. So anyway, that's my big news, and just wanted to share that with everybody. I thought this would be the appropriate forum to let everyone know. So that's it.
Great.
Outstanding. Congratulations. Are you going to plant any more trees? Celebrate.
We look forward to all the neat things that you're gonna be doing there, and we already appreciate everything that you have been doing there. So that brings us to the Marshall Main Street project update. As you know, if you've been reading our newsletters, et cetera, you know that our board was the original grant applicant for the project over 10 years ago. At that point in time, it was supposed to be for the entire Main Street. And we wrote the grant applications for 2008, 9, 10, and 11, I believe. Is that correct, Secretary? And then after about 4 years, because due to the laws changing that civic groups could no longer be grant applicants for improvement projects, then the county took it over. At that point in time, it was shrunk down to one block, which is just between Frost and Winchester Roads. Also, the attractiveness for many people for the Main Street Improvement Project was the idea of all the utility lines being buried. So that has been something that's been problematic to get done. The bids, we've been following this. We didn't get any design plans for the county until the end of August, beginning of September of 2018. So it's not like this plan existed at the beginning of the project, at the beginning of the grant. It did not. It has evolved. And so due to the fact that everyone in the special lighting tax district, if you're a resident or a business, like we were at the Rurtons and they thought, well, it's only Main Street businesses have to pay for this. No. Everyone in the lighting tax district, your special tax will go up 5 times. That's a 400% increase for this project. There are a little over 800 different property owners in the lighting tax district that are going to have to bear the burden of this project. Some of the board, and we've met with every single member of the Board of Supervisors. Mary Lee and Holder, of course, are strongly for this project. Holder has in the past recused himself since he's a property owner. The supervisor who was writing the grant applications for this did not recuse himself when he was a supervisor. And he has business interest in this one block. So this is shrunk from all of Main Street to between Frost and Winchester Roads with a little bit on either side of those intersections. Now it looks like there is not going to be able to be undergrounding of utilities. The last we heard, and we went to the state appointed representative, our representative on the Commonwealth Transportation Board. There were like 9 districts represented on that. So we found we've gotten the most reliable information when we go directly to her and to VDOT. So a lot of the information has been a little confusing and difficult to get from the county. The county's very much for this project, and we as the original grant applicant are not for this project, and we provided a resolution to that effect. Why there's so many flaws in this project. It's a high maintenance project. We can't even, the county can't even maintain what we have now. And the county is constantly telling us they have no money. With this project, and we met with VDOT just a few weeks ago, we walked Main Street. And VDOT confirmed that once this project happens, we are responsible for maintaining the sidewalks. Right now, they're responsible for maintaining the sidewalks. We were told that, we need this project because some places it puddles and there's water. Well, we walked it with VDOT and they said that's our responsibility. If there's a ½ inch or greater difference in the sidewalk, we'll come out and fix it. We'll come out and retrofit for handicap accessibility. That's at no cost to us. That's at no cost to the little over 800 property owners in the lighting tax district. If you say the entire service district, which some supervisors want to expand to include the entire service district in that rate increase, you're only adding about another 140, 150 more property owners. That's a lot of money for a project. This five times the rate is right now, it's ½ cent per $100 in value of your real estate. It's going to go up to 2.5%. This increase is only to get the project. It does not include maintaining the project. So if we don't get this project, this is what we prefer. We say, please, take the shackles off of us, of this project, because VDOT has been holding off on doing its normal paving and maintaining on our Main Street because this project has been coming for years. So what happens? The result is we're not getting it looking as nice as our state taxpayer dollars already have paid for that. Because they say, well, it doesn't make sense. If you're getting this project, it's coming this year, it's coming this year. It doesn't make sense. So we're saying, look, I'm sure the people who started this in the beginning had really good ideas, but they didn't know what we found out when the design plans were given to us at the end of summer in 2018. The devil is in the details. This is going to be a burdensome thing to both businesses and residents. We believe we won't have businesses that we have now. And, once this is done, this is going to be completely, interrupting normal flow on Marshall Main Street. Off the record, one former VDOT person said, this kind of project, we say, guess what? There are better, more efficient, cost-effective ways to improve Main Street. We want, we estimated that we can get street lights all up and down Main Street for under $500,000. This $6.1 million project that Mary Lee has already said is going to go way over that. Is going to be destructive, in our opinion, to both our businesses and our residents. We say, look, let's be smart about this. Let's address Marshall's water first. Let's put, the water issues that have been here forever. What are we doing with the Beautifying One Block project? Mm-hmm. We've got water issues that have been around forever and not successfully dealt with. And when we can beautify Main Street by letting VDOT, giving them the green light, say, okay, come on, repair the curbs and the sidewalks and repave our Main Street. We'll get the painting, get crosswalks painted where needed, things like that. Let's go ahead and do that. And the damage of the HO-RAMs, if you Google HO-RAMs and vibration damage, HO-RAMs, that's the equipment that is mentioned in county documents as maybe necessary if they run into rock. Well, like one contractor said at the pre-bid meeting, we all know that there's rock under there. Marshall's known for rock. We sit on a bed of rock. It's not the soft rock like at Dulles Airport, the shale. It's the hard blue rock. And you can Google vibration damage. We just think that there's a much better way. But we need to have the supervisors be willing to say, you know what, we're not gonna force this on you, we're not gonna drag it out anymore year after year. We're gonna cancel this project so that VDOT can get on with it. VDOT can get on with the business, and you guys can pursue getting streetlights, whatever you want, at a fraction of the cost. Let's not do this to our people with a special tax rate increase, which really has no end in sight, because it doesn't even count the maintenance of this project. People don't want the trees, they don't want these.
Why not?
Because,
Trees are nice.
yeah, they're nice in the right place,
Narrows the street.
but it narrows the street, it blocks
Eliminates
the,
parking spots.
it blocks the pedestrian, views of pedestrians coming in and out. They don't want Main Street narrowed by 2 feet. It's a safety issue. That's the main things, the narrowing of Main Street and the tax increase.
And VDOT spent a lot of money several decades ago to widen Main Street. Now we want to narrow it again.
Well, what we understand, we've been told lots of different things, but we went outside of the county to other VDOT sources, and we learned that VDOT will narrow a street if we want. If that's what the community wants, and the community says, we don't need it because we don't have any wide vehicles that use it, then they'll say, yeah, that's fine. But that's not what people are saying that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
The core people that worked on this project for all these years say, yes, it's safe, it's VDOT approved to narrow. Yes, it is within the range, but it's not what the community wants. And we have tractors, we have horse trailers.
You got the logging trucks that run up and down through here?
A lot of equipment.
Well,
I got an idea for 2 trees. One at Winchester and Main Street and one at Frost and Main Street in the middle of a very small circle. Not a tight circle, but a gentle, wide circle, so you wouldn't have to really slow down much. But that would be like the beginning, that would mark the beginning and the end, so we get all those touristy types to come in and spend big mucho dinero here.
Well, the other thing is that the entryway to towns off of 66 might be more appropriate as the entryway and focus on that instead of like this project it's gonna take a good portion of the gas station at where the 7-Eleven is and put up a sign. Well, people that we've talked to don't want it. We like the ability for horse trailers and lawn trucks to come in and get the gas. This is gonna make it very small, a little more difficult. I don't know if we even be able to do it. But there are other ways we feel that the entryways to Marshall can be beautified without taking up valuable Main Street space.
I think it would decimate businesses on Main Street for that amount of time for construction, and I mean, I don't know how many of them would be able to survive
Right,
that.
right.
How many of the approximately 800 people affected by the tax are in favor of it? Do you have an idea?
We
Based on
don't know. We're
petition?
trying to go door to door, and we would like anyone, if y'all can spread the word, please do so. We have a paper petition, and we have a form letter that people can sign, and we have an info sheet. And we really want to gear up for March, because right now, the county is reworking the bid. We went to the pre-bid meeting, and then we went to the bid opening last,
November 6th was the pre-bid meeting, and I think December 3rd or 5th was the bid opening meeting.
so at the bid opening, of all the contractors that went to the pre-bid meeting, there were only 2 that bid on it. For the contractors' portion, the county's budget is about roughly $3.5 million. The bids came in at $6.5 million and $8.5 million. So now we understand that the county they want to push this thing. They want to push it big. And we found that emails that people have sent, they haven't seen. So we ask you to please CC us, because we can make sure that the county recognizes your email. But now the county's trying to work it out, so they're going to have a ROC clause. So it's our understanding that ROC clause would mean if these contractors run into ROC, it's a separate charge, it doesn't count in their bid.
Yeah, it's totally
Yes, it
separate.
is.
It doesn't mean, but guess what? We're gonna have to pay for that. The county taxpayers, and it really affects everyone. We have a form letter that talks about, you can fill this out and you can check if you live in Marshall's Special Lighting Tax District. They really wanna know from lighting tax district people and also from service district people. But even if you're only in the Marshall Magisterial District, even if you're in Fauquier County, you're paying for this. Now, why would we waste money if there's a better way to do it? Why wouldn't we put it to schools or to first responders or water? Solve our water issue, please.
That's exactly.
So we're just saying-
Internet.
Yes.
Internet, my God, that's private
That's a
stuff.
novel idea.
So please ask us, we do have these form
You don't
letters
have
that
the
you can
internet?
sign. And this way,
Oh.
the supervisors, when we bring them to the supervisors, when we meet with the supervisors, they'll say like, you know, because they've been saying, well, we really haven't heard anybody against this project, except for you. You and your secretary, you're the only ones that are against this project. Well, what about the handwritten petition, hand-signed petition of 130 signatures against it? Oh, well, some of them are from Culpeper. Well, that's because they grew up in Marshall, they got married, they live in Culpeper, but they come back to visit their family in Marshall and they patronize Marshall businesses. So we just wanna give people, we wanna help the supervisors out. Because obviously they're not understanding what we're here on the ground, we're in Marshall, we're with you guys all the time, we know what people are feeling. We wanna help the supervisors realize what you guys are feeling.
Is there a way we can get an ad in the Democrat and where it succinctly says Marshall Business Resident Association does, as you've done a nice job here, where it can reach more people so that puts the pressure on the BOS so they know, look, people do not want this, that will be directly affected, the majority of people do not want this.
Have any of you seen, the 2 letters to the editor in the Fauquier Times? Okay, so, okay, we've been getting the word out some there, so we'll probably have another, you know, if they will allow us, we'll probably have another letter to the editor in, this next, you know, by Monday.
What if it were different people? What if it were different people in
That'd be
a
fine too.
service
Yeah.
district?
We encourage you to write your letters and.
I think if more people knew, because I've been here my whole life, but on Main Street where this directly affects me for more than 25 years. And it's a perception issue. In the beginning, it was, don't you want Marshall to be beautiful or not? And they didn't understand. There were so many, I stood up and spoke against it from the very beginning that it was gonna affect a 1 block area, that this was not gonna benefit all of Main Street, Marshall. And now we see that it's not, but I still think there are many people out there that think, oh, they not care about their hometown, do they not want it to be pretty? Well, we would love that, but not at this particular cost and only for a 1 block area. And I still think it's,
I do too, I agree with that.
It seems like an insanely high figure for what they're planning on doing. You know, but does that include the undergrounding of the utilities?
No.
It doesn't even include that.
We lost that, we couldn't afford that after we paid for the new sidewalk.
Now they're trying to rework the bidding so that the bids, they're trying to rework the project, so the last we heard, they're trying to figure out how they can bury internet and phone lines, but leave the electric lines up. Well, that doesn't make
That
sense.
makes no sense at all.
Believe me, I was an engineer with Verizon for years. It's gonna cost a tremendous amount of money to underground those utilities out there. Even for that 1 block from here all the way up there. Especially if you put in the rock clause. The rock clause is a whole lot of money.
It's gonna kill them.
And you will have to use a ram hole if you're gonna put in manholes, because you're gonna have to give access to the cable and the facility. So you're gonna have to put in manholes. So you're gonna have to use the hole ring. So you're gonna have to resort back to the rock clause. It's gonna cost money.
My 250-year-old house is not gonna be able to sustain that.
Well, you know, and what we found, it's kind of funny, but we found that, for example, real estate agents seem to be for this project.
Do
But-
they really know the parameters
Well, I don't know. Every time a property turns over, there's a sale to be made. If a lot of people are going to be run out of their homes and their businesses, that's a lot of properties, that's a lot of work.
Did you say, no, I thought I read in here that they're gonna vote either for it or not for it Thursday?
Well, not this Thursday, it's not there, but on one of their monthly meetings, they will be voting for it or against it, because from talking to VDOT, once they send this out to bid, and we're monitoring them, it won't be this Thursday, but we encourage everyone to come out, because you know what they say? They say like, well, first of all, they say like, oh, well, we're not gonna be, there's nothing to see here, move along, you know, there's nothing, it's not on the agenda. So then you come out when it's on the agenda, and they say, oh, where were you before now? Why, if you really cared about this, why didn't you come out?
I'd say that of mine.
You know, so we really encourage everyone to come out and speak. They allow 3 minutes at citizens' time per person. You might only need to take a minute, but just state your name and we've noticed also, we need to state clearly our opinion against it, because otherwise they will count it for it. We've seen that. So you have to, not like a gray area, like, well, I'm trying to be nice, because then we might not be clear. And then it's not counted against the project.
First two words should be, I oppose.
Yeah.
Something I want to remind people of, and maybe nobody even remembers, I was on the group that was first looking at this like 17, 18 years ago. And one of the options we were thinking about back then was just to move the power lines still overhead, but behind the buildings. Move them back 1 block. So
We've
you
heard
can
that
see
that is an option at some point. And there are also lots of very nice towns that have above ground lines. The town of Vienna was voted the 3rd best town in the country, and they have above ground lines. So it's not the end of the world, and but we also understand that there are lines up there that have been left up there. I don't know why would they be, that are dead. So they don't have to look as cluttered as they do. So we think there are a lot of options that are open to us if the project is canceled. Like everything, Marshall, you know, in my opinion, it doesn't look as nice now as it could have, because things have been held at bay. VDOT has been told, don't improve this because there's this project coming, and we need to move on with it. It doesn't have to, we could have had nicer sidewalks and everything right now repaired, so.
You know, there's another option, like you said. Of course, you're gonna have the fiber optic cable, that's gonna be there. But if you got multiple copper cables, you can roll a number of those copper cables into one, okay? And then run a column down the pole, take down the drops that feed from the pole to the buildings, and you can just trench those in with a vibrating trencher. You know, it's a buried drop.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody's house has that right now.
Everybody's house has it.
Yeah.
But you just take the area part down and you just simply trench in with a little vibrator.
So that little wire running from the pole to your house.
And what would look like spaghetti up
Yeah.
there right now. And you can take multiple copper cables and roll them into one. If you got a 200 and a 300 and a 100, you would say, okay, well, we'll pay for putting up a 600 pair of cables and taking down those other 3. Those are the creative things that you need to look at
Pursue.
when you want to,
Right.
when you want to enhance the look of it.
Right, and those options are definitely, you know, so much more reasonable.
My question would be, if we don't go through with it, and I don't want it, obviously, we know where that money's supposed to be coming from, but if we don't do it, where is the money coming from that we would do the things we can do?
Well,
The things you suggest.
Right, first of all, with grant projects, as an engineering firm told me, grant projects, you're given a certain amount of money, but there are a lot of hoops to jump through, and it's very expensive for these localities to have a grant project. So it seems like, oh, we have X number of dollars, yeah, but that comes with a steep price.
Is it
And,
matching funds, or is it not? There's a timetable involved and everything.
right, and this project has kept ballooning in price. So, first of all, VDOT comes in and repairs the sidewalks at no cost to us
Right.
because they already have our taxpayer dollars. They pave and do whatever painting and retrofitting for handicap accessibility, and that's at no cost to us.
Who would, what Duke was talking about, is that Dominion Power or?
We wanna pursue that because we saw a utility truck taking down some internet wires just the other day. So I think there are a lot of low-cost or very little-cost things open to us that nobody has bothered to pursue for all these years. So we're very excited about it. And I think that the county owes Marshall and its citizens some time and attention, and they need to work with us on this. So-
When Middleburg got its brick sidewalks, was that a general Loudoun County thing? Or
Oh,
was it
hold on
just-
just a second, excuse me, we're gonna have the door prize drawing, so